Okay, you asked for proof. You asked for more details. For the past week, I've been researching and reading everything about the PS5, its specs, how it compares to a PC, and how the PS5 Pro might outshine a $2,000 gaming PC. I've kept this topic as objective as possible. There are pros and cons, and there are moments when the Xbox outshines it. At the end of the day, there is only one truth. Not my truth, not your truth, just the truth whether we like it or not.
What have you done?
I painted the truth. I painted my truth.
We're also going to be discussing upcoming Sony events and when the PS5 Pro is coming, and it's probably sooner than you think. So stick around. When the PS5 dropped, it was kind of like having a gaming PC that would normally set you back around $1,000. But here's the kicker. It was more powerful than that $1,000 PC, though not by a huge margin. The PS5 packs a custom 8-core Zen 2 CPU and an RDNA 2-based GPU, which is kind of like having an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X and an RX 5700 GPU in your rig. But here's where things get interesting. The PS5's custom hardware and the optimizations developers make specifically for it mean that it can outperform a similarly spec'd PC. Those first-party PS5 games, they run at high frame rates and resolutions that make the most out of the hardware. Fast forward to 2023, and you could build a PC for about $770 that would either match or slightly beat the PS5's performance. So, while it used to be that a $1,000 PC was necessary to keep up, hardware has come a long way, and now you can get similar power for a bit less cash. As PC hardware keeps advancing, it's getting easier to build a rig that outshines the PS5 for around $1,000. The performance advantage that the PS5 had at launch is starting to shrink as it ages. Now, think about the upcoming PS5 Pro. This beast is rumored to be as powerful as a $2,000 gaming PC. That's a significant leap. The PS5 Pro will likely sport even more advanced custom hardware and optimizations that'll make games look and run even better than they do on the current PS5. We're talking high frame rates, even higher resolutions, and perhaps new graphical features that take full advantage of its upgraded specs. So, to sum it up, when the PS5 first launched, it had a nice edge over a $1,000 gaming PC, but as time has passed, that gap has closed. You can now build a $1,000 PC that matches or exceeds the PS5's performance. But with the PS5 Pro on the horizon, expect another leap that might put it on par with those $2,000 gaming rigs. The console wars are heating up, and it's a great time to be a gamer, whether you're Team PC or Team Console. Digital Foundry had a really cool premise. We've seen a lot of games that come out multi-platform that should run worse on the PS5 than the Series X, because, on paper, the Series X is a much stronger console, about a 30% difference. However, we've seen a lot of games that come out on both consoles, running and looking better on the PlayStation 5, and many people have been wondering why that is. Digital Foundry dug into this and found some interesting details. Essentially, what's happening is that even though, on paper and in reality, the Xbox Series X is the stronger console, the PS5 is much more optimized. When it's calling up textures, loading new areas of a map, or running animations, the PS5 does everything a lot faster because it's so much more optimized. The pipeline they have is a lot easier for developers to work with than the Xbox Series X. So, while we've heard rumors that the PS5 and Series X are tapped out, it's really not the case. The PS5 is just easier to work with, and there's still more headroom to pull out of both consoles. Another point to note is that developers who have worked with PlayStation before have said that PlayStation goes out of their way to make sure games run well on the console. They have a whole dedicated team that helps developers get games looking and running better on the console, and they help with implementing features like the DualSense, marketing, and PR, ensuring games succeed on their platform. In contrast, while Xbox also helps developers, particularly with the challenges posed by the Xbox Series S, it's evident that PlayStation's back-end systems make the development process significantly easier. And this brings me to my next topic. The delay of the Xbox version of Black Myth Wukong has sparked significant discussion due to optimization challenges, particularly with the Xbox Series S. After unveiling a trailer at Summer Game Fest, the developers announced that while the PC and PS5 versions would launch on August 20th, the Xbox release would be postponed. This delay stems from difficulties in meeting quality standards for the Xbox Series X and S versions simultaneously with other platforms. The Xbox Series S, known for its lower power compared to the Series X and PS5, poses a unique challenge. Its hardware limitations, especially in memory capacity, make it harder for developers to achieve the same performance levels as on more powerful consoles. This situation isn't uncommon in the gaming industry, where cross-platform development often necessitates compromises to accommodate varying hardware capabilities. Comparisons have been drawn to past instances like Baldur's Gate 3, where technical constraints on the Series S forced developers to make difficult decisions regarding features like split-screen co-op. Despite efforts to optimize, sometimes games simply can't run adequately on the Series S without significant compromises in gameplay or visuals. Critics argue that such limitations can hinder the overall progress and potential of game development, as developers may need to cater to the lowest common denominator in hardware capability. This situation has led to debates about whether the Series S, while budget-friendly, has inadvertently held back this console generation's technological advancements in gaming. Now, this doesn't mean the Series X is always behind. For example, in games using Unreal Engine 5, the Series X can sometimes have better resolution thanks to its architecture, which has more compute units at a lower frequency. This helps with compute-heavy tasks like lighting. But in older or cross-gen games, the PS5 often takes the lead because of its higher clock speeds, which are great for rasterization tasks. A huge factor here is optimization. How much time and effort developers put into optimizing games for one console over another can make a big difference. If a game isn't optimized to fully utilize the Series X's capabilities, it might perform worse compared to the PS5 version. Take Frontiers of Pandora, for instance. Games like this can really show noticeable performance differences because they're optimized specifically for each console. At the end of the day, though, these two consoles are the closest in performance we've ever seen. Most multi-platform games run pretty much the same on both. Sure, there are some specific cases where one console might edge out the other, but these differences are usually minor and more of a curiosity than a deal breaker. So there's been quite a stir about Black Myth Wukong, and it all centers around an article from IGN that came out late last year, with follow-ups a few months ago. The controversy involves accusations of sexism against the game's developers. Apparently, some folks dug up old social media posts and other statements from the developers, claiming they contained sexist remarks. This has led to calls for caution in supporting the game. However, here's where it gets tricky. Some of the translations of these supposed remarks don't seem to make much sense. For example, one translated quote from a lead developer reads, "I want to expand my circle and hire more people, get licked until I can't get an erection." That's bizarre, right? So, I decided to do some digging myself to translate the same texts. The result? A very different translation. I wanted to expand the circle and recruit more people but got beaten until I couldn't move, then hailed as a savior of the industry. This pattern repeated with other quotes. One IGN translation read, "The snake spirit is different from what I imagined, but if I cover the bottom half with my hand, it's still possible to jerk off." Using ChatGPT, I got, "The snake spirit is quite different from what I imagined. Using the lower half to cover it with my hand, it's not impossible to accept." The point is, these translations are significantly different, suggesting that the original quotes may have been mistranslated or taken out of context. It seems like there might be an effort to find something scandalous about the game, possibly to generate clicks and controversy. It reminds me of the uproar over Hogwarts Legacy, where people were trying to cancel the game over unrelated issues. Here, it feels like there's a push to drum up a scandal where there might not be one. Now I want to tell you why I'm so hyped for the game. The combat is what really caught my eye. Instead of the usual parry mechanics you see in a lot of Souls-like games, this one focuses on dodging. The dodge system is really responsive, and the Monkey King staff has all these cool tricks with light and charged attacks. Plus, you get to use magic. You've got spell slots and skill trees that let you upgrade your abilities and gear. Imagine freezing enemies in place or transforming into a powerful form during a boss fight. It's going to be wild. And you know what it reminds me of? The original Dragon Ball series with Goku's magic staff and the after-image technique. The way the Monkey King uses his staff and his nimble movements feels like a nod to those classic Dragon Ball moments. It's got that same sense of whimsical but intense combat. Speaking of boss fights, each one is unique. They have different rhythms and attack patterns, so you'll need to mix up your strategies. And the skill trees are pretty flexible. You can reset them whenever you want, so you're not locked into one playstyle. The game also seems to have a solid story and setting. You start off in this place called Blackwind Mountain, and the visuals are just stunning. I mean, this is the kind of game that'll make you appreciate having a PS5, and it's going to look even better on the PS5 Pro with all that extra power. One major complaint from fans has been how quiet Sony has been in recent years, especially regarding first-party games. Despite having State of Plays, which would have been a great time to announce a PlayStation 5 Pro, but they failed to do so. They also failed to announce many big games in their beloved franchises. While I'm excited for Astro Bot, it's not quite the same thing as Ghost of Tsushima 2 or something from Santa Monica or Naughty Dog. Fans crave more first-party news. Sony has confirmed their presence at China Joy 2024, set for July 26th to 29th. This event has previously introduced Lost Soul Aside. Additionally, Sony will be at the Tokyo Game Show 2024, where they haven't been as a general exhibitor since 2019. This indicates they might have something significant to show, potentially the PlayStation 5 Pro, which could be revealed around that time. Analysts reported that they anticipated Sony would release a PlayStation 5 Pro in the latter half of 2024. We are in the latter half of 2024 right now. Looking back at the history of when they've released mid-gen refreshes, PlayStation 2 was out in 2000, the PS2 Slim was out in 2004, PS3 was released in 2006, the PS3 Slim in 2009, PS4 came out in 2013, and both the PS4 Slim and Pro were out in 2016. PlayStation 5 will turn 4 this November. Then there's the important detail. Sources told The Verge that developers are being asked to optimize their games for the new console, and that improved ray tracing is a significant focus. Big question is, what games will they use to show off the new console? A Horizon Zero Dawn remake could be a great example. According to Games Radar, Netflix's Horizon Zero Dawn series is reportedly no longer going forward following allegations of a toxic workplace by showrunner Steve Blackman. Former staff members accused Blackman of bullying and manipulative behavior. Neither Netflix nor Sony has commented on the situation yet. This raises questions about the rumored Horizon remake. The Last of Us Part 1 released before the HBO show, so it's possible the Horizon remake could still release. It could be an excellent showcase for the PlayStation 5 Pro. The Horizon multiplayer game and other first-party titles could also make an appearance. They might also show first-party games like a performance boost for Astro Bot, Until Dawn, Silent Hill 2, or even reveal Ghost of Tsushima 2. There are many potential titles, including Spider-Man 2 DLC, Naughty Dog's new IP, Sony Ben's next title, and Sony Santa Monica's projects. Grand Theft Auto 6 is expected next year. By all accounts, that could be a game that really pushes the current gen systems and why people might want to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro so they can play GTA 6 with the highest settings.